That's stone. All right, so put... What's up guys, my name is Spencer. This is my 2017 Ford EcoBoost Mustang.
What's up guys, I'm here with Spencer and this is his 2017 Ford Mustang EcoBoost. So he's gonna go ahead and give you guys a good overview on the car and tell you everything about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is a, like he said, it's a 17 EcoBoost Mustang. This car has the performance package, but it is a base. So it's got the small screen, all that kind of stuff. It's got the Recaros, and it's a manual, of course. It's got a pretty simple setup on it. For now, it basically just runs a Tune Plus W350 kit. So it's got an ETS intercooler and a Turbo Smart wastegate and a Cobb axis port and a Pro Tune from Adam at Tune Plus. As well as it's on probably my favorite thing ever are the Koni Sports with combined with Eibach Sportline lowering springs. Just a really solid setup for autocross and daily use, and it's nice and firm and you can adjust it. Love it. It's got a bunch of small visual stuff, like it's got a GT Performance Pack front splitter and some Opt7 LED turn signals, and just RTR grills and all kinds of small stuff.
Yeah, so overall you've done a really good job with making the car look good, especially with the front end. You got this little splitter here, and then the car's lowered, and then also, which wheels are these right here?
These are Rotiform RSEs. They are 19 by 10 squared with a 275/35 Firestone Indy 500.
Yeah, so the the gunmetal gray color with the yellow just looks amazing. I think it's a really well put together car and it looks very refined. And then also just overall, like with the suspension and the tire mods and all that, how does that really help out the car? Because you do autocross it, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, so how does that really help the car performance wise on the track?
So it really stiffens the car up. I mean, I ran quite a few events with the car dead stock and it just smears on pavement. But I mean, now with a setup like this, it's a lot more refined feeling and it's just better in every way. It rides great, and you can adjust it. I've got it pretty stiff right now from the last autocross, and you can adjust it to be super stiff. You can adjust it to be really soft. It's kind of up to you. I like to keep it somewhere in the middle for daily use. But yeah, it's an amazing setup and I wouldn't trade it.
Yeah, I really love what you've done with the car for stuff like that. It's a really good balance of comfortable while still also being a beast on the track. And with the EcoBoost, it's very lightweight and it's just overall a really good setup car. So then moving on to the car, what else do you have done?
Yeah, so it's pretty simple. I mean, it's just got carbon mirror covers there. It's got some Roush side skirt winglets. The roof is wrapped black. That was done by Brandon at Port City Customs. It's got a GTS solar wing roof wing on the back, and then a Shelby style carbon wing out on the back.
Yeah, I think that carbon wing just really sets the car apart. I mean, that wing almost makes the car look wider in a way. I feel like just having a cool wing like that really makes the car look a little bit better and overall flows everything. It makes the body lines really pop out. So go ahead and tell us about your engine bay setup.
All right, so it's a pretty simple setup in here. It's just got an ETS intercooler up front. It's hidden behind this RTR front grille. It's got a JLT 3.0 catch can. I know some people don't love that one, but it does a job and I enjoy it. It's got this SR Performance chrome strut tower brace, and then it's got a Turbo Smart wastegate.
It's a really solid setup, but otherwise, let's go and take the car for a drive and see how it feels. All right, so let's go in from first gear and just kind of see how the car feels. Impressions of just driving the car kind of normally here, it definitely has a presence to it. So like I'm used to my 8.6, which has a really short hood. With the Mustang, it's got a really long hood, and I feel like I can have this kind of mean, aggressive presence. And it is an American car. It's kind of always had that, but definitely a unique driving feel just right off the bat. So I can definitely feel it's got a lot of grip to it. And you said it's 275 right on the tires?
Yep, it's a 275/35 squared.
Yeah, so initial steering feel is like it takes a little bit to get it, like very minimal to get it going, but once you kind of feel that like bite where the traction is, it's got a lot to it. And that might also be due to the fact that it's a quite heavy car, like not too heavy, but it's definitely on the heavier side, I would say. And it definitely has got a lot of feel to it when you turn with it. So right now I'm just kind of going side to side with it, and I feel like as I'm doing that, it's got a really nice bite point to it, which I'm sure on an autocross, event, you're gonna feel super confident with just how much traction this thing's got.
One thing you gotta kind of learn to fight is the weight. I mean, it is kind of, like I said, it is kind of heavy, and I come from Hondas, and that's like, I drive my old 91 EF Civic, and that's coming to this, which has got a ton of power, which my Honda doesn't have, but it's also got a lot of weight behind it, so you gotta kind of learn it. But once after a couple events, it's, like I said, it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So like going from a Honda to a car like this, how does that kind of work out?
I mean, it's the biggest thing is the difference in power. I mean, my Civic, even in its kind of hopped up state, makes maybe 110 horsepower at best, whereas this is, like I said, mid to low threes. And so just having boost and having all this ability to really get moving is something to get used to a lot, but it's also a less stiff chassis than my Honda is, just because of the way I've got it. You're good, you're good. Keep going, give it throttle. Don't go second, give it a little more throttle.
More throttle? Is that what I needed? Why was it bouncing like that?
When it's bouncing like that, it's because you're going too slow.
Oh, okay. I thought I was not on it enough.
That's not enough throttle.
Much
so
is what I thought.
Yeah.
Okay, don't judge me, guys. I literally just learned manual recently. I've never really owned a boosted car, but just from driving them and riding in them, the kind of the character that the car has when it's boosted is really unique. And I'm sure if this was like a V8 GT, it probably wouldn't have that type of character, would it?
No, I mean, those as well, those are really linear. I mean, pretty much anywhere you put it in, you've got torque, you've got instant. This, you got to build a little bit. Thankfully, being an American four-cylinder, they still make plenty of torque, so it's kind of drives like an NA car, but it doesn't. I mean, you have to still let it build boost. You got to know when to shift it, but it's a lot of fun, and there's a learning curve, and it's not the same as driving, like, say, an SR20 powered car.
So did you own an SR20 powered car before this?
I did not. I've got friends who do, and that was kind of my goal, was I wanted to get into a car similar to that, but I wanted something modern, reliable. So I kind of looked into FRSs. That was my main initial plan. But this is a good middle ground between those two.
All right, so we're gonna go from first gear and just do a full throttle. It puts a smile on your face, and I don't think a lot of cars are able to do that, this is fun. Do you have the aftermarket shifter on here?
That is the stock shifter with a racing weighted knob.
Wow, these brakes feel amazing. Oh my gosh. So are these Brembos on here? What is this?
Technically, no. It's the 4-piston base brakes from the GT. So it's still a big 4-piston, large front caliper, but it's technically not a Brembo. I believe it's a Fomoco Continental piece.
The main thing is about a car for me is just, can it put a smile on your face, smiles per gallon? And I would say yes, this car's got a whole lot of smiles per gallon because it's got a good character to it. It's a Mustang. Everyone loves Mustangs, and they're really fun to drive. And then also you've got the really cool, unique EcoBoost engine in there. It's just a really fun car. But other than that, like, just as a Mustang, the car feels really comfortable, and I think it's nice because it's a really comfortable car. And then if you want to autocross it, you can. If you want to make it into a drag car, you totally can. It really depends on how you want to build it. But from the factory, this car is it's good at everything, I would say. It's maybe not the best at one particular thing, but it's definitely good at all things. And you can build it and, tune it to specifically what you want to do with it. So if you want to autocross it like this car, for example, you can do the suspension that you've done, the wheels and tires, and it's going to feel just amazing on the autocross track.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have done a couple drag strip events with it, mainly just open days. There's actually time slips in the door over there if you want to look at them. But I think the best was like a 13.7 or 8, but that was about 100 degrees with no launch control because I hadn't figured it out yet. So I'm tempted to go back. People on a similar setup are running high 12s, low 13s with an auto, so I should be probably mid 13s would be my guess.
Definitely more than enough power that you need for just like daily driving. And it's plenty of power to really be able to have fun with it. So let's go and do a pull from second gear and see how it feels. And it's like, the fun part to me is typically, stereotypical, you'll see a Mustang, you're expecting a V8, a really deep, aggressive sound, and then you hear this like almost Japanese type of sound coming out of it. Like, it's amazing. Like the blow-off valve and just the turbo sounds. I love it. Like, it's just, it makes you smile so much. And overall, I really enjoy the car. So this car just seems super addicting in the sense that once you get into boost, it's very difficult to tell yourself to get out of it. You know, you just hear the car building boost and it's almost asking for you to give it more throttle. Like, it wants you to keep going with it and just kind of build the RPMs. Like, it's really hard not to, you know, when the car's doing that to you, I mean, it's pretty fun and you want to just keep going with it. And that's one of the hard things I'm having right now, is telling myself, no, don't build boost, just drive it normally. But nope, you hear it spooling up and you instantly want to go with it, and it's funny.
So that's what the Tune Plus, he calls it the Perps and Burbs, and the Pops and Bangs tune is. I don't use it much personally, but it's an add-on you can buy from Adam from Tune Plus. He does it at random. He does it, you can't just buy it whenever. He does it like one night he'll just put it up and only put up like 100 slots, and that's it. And then once they're gone, they're gone. It's kind of silly. Personally, I'm not the biggest fan of it, and I don't use it much of ever, but it is always kind of fun just for noise purposes.
You've got all these like gauges here that's showing off. Like, you've got the boost gauge, the oil pressure gauge,
and then in the center stack here, I usually just keep it on oil temp personally, but there's an inlet air temp, a cylinder head, and there's track apps in here on this car too, so you can do like an accelerometer and a lap timer and all that kind of silly stuff. But I usually just keep it myself on oil temp, just to keep an eye on that. The only thing that I wish that I could get is from on the cars that don't have performance pack and they just have a vent in the middle here, you can actually have the boost gauge in the middle and watch it. I kind of wish I could have that, but I also have the physical one there, so don't need that much.
Yeah, but it's just like overall really cool. So let's go ahead and do a pull and hear the car sounds. It does have a cool blow-off valve, right? So do you want to go in and kind of give us a...
Yeah, it's got a Torque Solutions blow-off valve adapter. So it makes lots of good, silly noises. And it kind of, it's for the better or the worse. It's always on, so it's not like something, it's only like high boosted. It's like every time. I've thought about taking it off, but it still makes me laugh. So it's like, all right, now it's worth it to keep.
Yeah, I think the always on thing is kind of interesting because you can literally be in a parking lot doing, you know, 10 miles per hour and you can hear the blow off, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it's kind of silly. It's kind of funny leaving meets and stuff. You can make a little noise and everybody's like, what is that Mustang doing? What? It's always great. This is the 2.3 liter EcoBoost 4-cylinder. Back in 2015, that's when they debuted this motor. And they also had the 3.7 Cyclone V6. It's been around since 2011 or 10, I believe. And this was kind of the test to phase that motor out, and they don't even produce it anymore. Now it's just, you can only get this car, the 2.3 EcoBoost, or the 5 liter Coyote. And it's a super, I enjoy the platform. It gets a lot of hate on the internet, but it makes plenty of power. It's good and fun to drive.
Definitely hear the boost kicking in. So how many pounds are you on right now?
In theory, I mean, the cob right here is rating 24.6 on that pull. So that's kind of about as high as you want to go on the stock turbo, as it is pretty small.
So you do autocross the car, so can you kind of tell us a little bit about that and just kind of your experiences with autocrossing a car like this?
Yeah, so I mean, it's, right now I run Cam C, so that's Classic American Muscle Contemporary. So usually I'm up against GTs, and last event I ran a Camaro SS 1LE, so I'm usually pretty outgunned power-wise, but there's always a lot you can do to kind of make up for that just with driving. My biggest complaint about the car would be that it understeers, and my biggest thing is also it has an electric power steering rack, which kind of feels a little numb on center. That's honestly my biggest complaint, and I fight a lot of understeer problems at Autocross, but beyond that, it's a great chassis. It rotates really well, it pushes right where you need it to, and it's really predictable when it comes to oversteer and understeer. So it's easy to plane it right where you need it to be. You just got to kind of be ready for the weight of it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you've definitely set the car up very well for Autocross, which is your main focal point with it. But really, overall, you know, job well done on this car.
So this particular example is a 17 EcoBoost, so it's got the 2.3 like we said, but this one is a base. That means it's got the small radio screen, and but it's also a performance package, so it's a manual, and it's got the 355 limited slip rear end. And also one of my favorite things about this car are these Recaro seats. That's a pretty uncommon option for an EcoBoost, especially in cloth. That was kind of one of the things that drew me to this particular example when I was looking for one of these. And it's a huge selling point, and for what I use it for, they're super comfortable for dailying, and for autocross they hold you in place really well. And one day I'll throw a harness bar or a half cage or something and be able to run a real belt through it, but for now this is all I need.
Yeah. Now, are these the Recaros that come in like the performance pack of the V8 like GT as well, or are they similar?
Yeah, so it's the same seat. This is actually the same seat. I believe they brought it out in the like 2012. For example, my mother has got a 2012 Boss 302. This has the same seat, but just says Boss 302 on it, whereas this just says Recaro. But they've actually replaced this seat now. You can still get it in like the current gen, like 5.0s and things like that. But the Shelbys use a totally custom. It's not as comfortable, or should I say larger guy friendly. It's a lot more tight on you, but it's also a super nice seat. But I prefer this style with this kind of wider, and it does its job well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really comfortable seat, and we're just kind of doing like some regular cruising here, and it feels really good. But also the bolstering, I'm sure if you were to take some corners pretty hard, let's say on autocross, you know, just canyon roads or mountain roads, they're definitely going to hold you in really well, which is a really cool thing. And also they're Recaros, so they're really well engineered seats as well.
Absolutely. I mean, like I said, one of my favorite parts about this car, if I were to end up trading it for a GT, which I don't think I really want to do, I would probably try to buy a set of stock seats and see if I can save these and move it to the other car.
Yeah, I mean, it's got plenty of necessities that you need, because I mean, for the most part, how much different do you think the actual GT car is versus the EcoBoost?
Well, chassis-wise, this being a performance pack EcoBoost compared to a stock, like a base model 5.0, it's about the same car. I mean, this has got GT sway bars, radiator, brakes. It's functionally the same car, except for this is a smaller motor. It gets slightly better fuel economy, if that's something you really care about. I will admit, if you're getting into this car worried about fuel economy, don't. It's not great for that. It gets maybe 23, 24 on average for like city, and on highways I've gotten as high as like 32. But I mean, it's nothing amazing. It's pretty good, but it's just kind of run-of-the-mill for a sports car. My favorite part that I have on the entire car are these Koni Sport Shocks. I mean, they are fantastic. They're super comfortable. They're stiff, and I'll admit right now they're still adjusted for Autocross that we had a couple weeks ago. But it's a great, super comfortable shock setup, and they're paired with Eibach Sportline springs, which are a good lowering spring. I want to say it's about 1.5 inches. It's nothing aggressive, but it makes the car look good, and it rides well. And like I said, that combo is probably my favorite thing. Even without all the power stuff I've got and some of the visual stuff, I just love when the car was stock and on that setup, it was great.
So there you have it. That was Spencer's 2017 Ford Mustang EcoBoost. It's a super cool car, and I'm sure you enjoyed it as well. But for now, if you enjoyed the video and want to see many more just like it, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.